Fight fam, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification. Class in session.
El Orgulloso de Maternillo, considered by many to be the boogeyman of 140, Puerto Rican knockout artist Subriel Matias has patiently stalked the division's top brass. Now a reigning world champion, he seeks to begin a reign of terror and commence a campaign that expands his territory from the IBF to undisputed. No man that has seen Matias across the ring as the bell tolls has left without his ambitions and consciousness dashed upon the rocks of his torrential offense. Much of Matias's awkward style stems from his footwork, though awkward in this context can be considered fundamentally unsound. Matias makes a habit of breaking major footwork conventions. Stepping back foot first gathers your feet on the first step and leaves you front foot heavy upon the reset. The back foot may also land parallel to the lead foot, leaving Subriel squared. Habitual rhythm steps momentarily gather the feet, compromising balance, and upon completing the maneuver, you're front foot heavy and likely in punching range. Cross-stepping is completely breaking from his boxing stance, whether he does it on his own or if he's pushed backwards. And the occasional forward shift while throwing the backhand leaves Subriel squared. Due to these issues, in his last fight, Matias' opponent was able to recognize these moments of vulnerable footwork and attack them. Subriel regularly makes the mistake of throwing a single jab or jab probe at mid-range. Deep within punching range with his defense compromised and overextended is a recipe for counterpunching, a check his opponents have cashed with interest. Matias possesses some upper body movement when he wishes to be elusive, utilizing slips, pulls, and weaves that he can turn into slick counters when he's in his bag. This makes it all the more curious that Subriel chooses not to move his head at all when throwing combinations. When he starts to get his volume going, his head will stay center line. The more he presses, the more opportunities for his opponent. He will also at times default to an inactive high guard, sometimes in a squared position. Channel subscribers will be aware of the holds present in inactive high guard around the flanks and through the middle. Being a predominantly close-range fighter, Matias' game outside to mid-range mostly consists of a high volume of throwaway jabs and probes and the odd lead two to cover his advance to the inside. Though occasionally, Matias will flash higher-level skills and attempt to angle inside. He is far too inconsistent in his attempts. If he does none of these, he can be found taking an evening stroll into range with no type of setup. On the inside, Subriel possesses a varied and nuanced ability to utilize frames and controls to stifle his opponent's offense and create opportunities for his own, be it frames and lifts to make space, forearm frames, or head controls to guide the head into offense or disrupt his opponent's equilibrium. However, he can make the mistake of being too soft in his application of these controls. When the control is soft, an opponent can easily use his own physicality to counteract and nullify the control. Subriel can also be inconsistent in his usage of these controls in general. Often, he'll prefer to enter into 50-50 strongman contests where his intangibles usually put him on top, but his defensive holds means he's taking serious risks.
His opponent is the undefeated southpaw IBF mandatory Shohjahon Ergeshev. Ergashev is a heavy-handed boxer puncher who likes to fight mostly from mid-range with the use of his limited but effective lead hand and pendulum bouncing in order to control distance. This will be his very first 12-round championship fight, although I seriously doubt it will get to that point. Typically, when a fighter is at the end of his punches, they rarely see the final bell. More into his lead hand, Ergashev mainly uses it for two reasons. He either uses probes with small pendulum steps in order to maintain and measure optimum range to set up counters, or he steps forward and uses a throwaway jab to immediately follow up with either a cross or backhand uppercut. His two most frequent combinations, a bad style matchup for a come-forward pressure fighter who relies mostly on an active high guard like Matias. Ergashev utilizes the long guard as his main method of defensive responsibility. He does this by fully extending his arm out while concurrently stepping back at the same time. This helps as his arms are used as punch traffic that help entangle his opponent's punches and control distance. However, this does not come without issues. More on that later. In the event that his opponents manage to close distance and get on the inside, or if Ergashev overshoots and gets too close to keep advantageous positioning, Ergashev is no stranger to using his physicality and head control in order to prevent his opponents from getting any offense off. Since Ergashev often uses the long guard for defense, he's constantly moving back in straight lines to avoid punches. Boxing fundamentals teach fighters to step off or angle out to safely change your positioning. Constantly moving back in straight lines keeps Ergashev in the line of fire to be followed out with punches, especially if he's close against the ropes. Ergashev doesn't possess a very wide arsenal of punches. He throws repetitive combinations and has the same counters throughout his fights. As mentioned before, he mostly throws a 1-2 or 1-6 to the head or body. At the championship level, fighters often adapt and make adjustments when they see a consistent pattern in their opponent's game. Ergashev tends to overreach with the backhand when coming forward. As a result, his back foot typically comes off the ground, placing all of his weight on the front foot. When stuck on the front foot, his options for evasion drastically decrease. At worst, he goes into a dangerous forward shift that leaves him available to be countered, or in range for Matias to get some work on the inside. On top of reaching, Ergashev practically always drops his lead hand when throwing the backhand with his head directly on the center line, leaving his chin and temple exposed to devastating counterpunches like the lead hand hook.
I can't lie, Joey. I'm having trouble calling this fight with any type of confidence. Even with his issues, Matias beats the hell out of Ergashev if it's on the inside, leading all CompuBox punch statistics at 140. Even if Ergashev proves to have an iron chin, engaging Subriel on the inside for any extended period will lead to him simply getting outworked. If Matias fails to get to his preferred range and the fight takes place mid-range to outside, Ergashev likely outboxes him. Look for Ergashev in this instance to be heavily taking advantage of Matias' many footwork issues and countering his mid-range jab. though the problems you've noted still make it a possibility that Matias can get his off. I got it 50-50.
Damn, Jacob. It looks like another interesting fight that has a clash of styles. An unrelenting pressure fighter that relies on volume to exhaust and slowly break down his opponent against a mid-range boxer puncher who likes to control distance with his lead hand and set up counterpunches. I believe this fight will come down to positioning. If the fight mainly takes place in the center ring, Ergashev will have a significant advantage being able to box and move around while setting Matias up for those devastating step-back counters he loves to throw. However, if Matias is able to take advantage of Ergashev's linear footwork and put him up against the ropes, Matias will be able to close distance and force a dogfight, which he will more than likely dominate in with a higher work rate. If Matias was more physical and had an educated control game, I'd call it a 50-50 as well. However, since he mainly works out of an inactive high guard, I'd slightly favor Ergashev for the upset, but I wouldn't be surprised if Matias pulled it off. And with both fighters boasting a ridiculously high KO percentage, I'd say a stoppage is all but guaranteed. Let us know who you got in the comment section. Thanks for watching.